Chapter 886, The Dead Water Drifts. The icy waters surrounding the Jin foam have begun to calm, but not with peace, rather, with a sinister stillness. A thick fog drapes over the sea like a burial shroud. Zhang Yi stands alone at the bow, listening to the silence beneath the surface. Every creak of the hull sounds like a scream swallowed by the sea. Zhou Kor approaches, her voice low. "She's getting worse," she says, referring to Bai Jingyu. "The parasitic infection seems dormant, but only just." She speaks in riddles, Kor adds. "Sometimes it's like she's not even in there anymore." Zhang Yi listens, unmoved. "We'll deal with it when it's time," he replies. Below deck, fear gnaws at the survivors. One man tries to pry open a locked ration cabinet and is caught by Che Haicheng's squad. A scuffle breaks out. Zhang Yi arrives, but instead of a punishment, he offers food from his own supply. "Hunger isn't treason," he says, a rare flicker of compassion. But that night, the ship drifts past something unnatural, an overturned patrol vessel, half submerged, blackened by soot, its radar mast cracked. No signs of life, yet no signs of struggle either, just abandonment. Zhang Yi orders a salvage team. They find no bodies, only a sealed journal that ends mid-sentence, "It's inside." Zhang Yi reads the line, then burns the book. No ghosts. Just lessons. The next morning, the fog thickens. The water no longer smells like salt, but like metal. Chapter 887, Hollow Signal. A weak radio transmission bleeds through the static during routine equipment checks. Lao Tian adjusts dials, eyebrows furrowed. "It's a distress signal," he says. "Chinese frequency. Repeating on loop." Zhang Yi listens carefully. The voice is ragged, panicked, feminine. "This is the Xianyang. We're adrift. No fuel. No heat. Requesting rescue," but the date embedded in the signal code makes Zhang Yi's eyes narrow. It's been looping for over 11 days. No fresh transmissions. "It's either bait," he says, "or a grave." Zhou Kor argues they should respond. "If even one person is alive, then they'll wait," Zhang Yi cuts in. "We're not gambling lives on ghosts." Still, he orders a slow approach under stealth protocol. As they near the Xuanyang's location, they spot the silhouette, a cargo ship, nearly identical in size, bobbing motionless. No lights. No movement. Just emptiness. Zhang Yi leads the boarding party. They find no one, only ransacked supplies, smeared blood trails, and claw marks on the inner walls. Whatever happened wasn't quick and wasn't clean. One crew member finds a tablet in the captain's quarters. A recorded log plays, "They changed. From inside. I locked the hold. I had to." As Zhang Yi walks the bloodied bridge, he mutters, "It's a warning. Not a rescue." Before leaving, he sets explosive charges. The Xianyang vanishes beneath the waves in silence. Chapter 888, Dreams in Static. Back aboard the Jin foam, survivors begin to experience shared dreams. First, it's whispers, then faces, then drowning sensations. A young boy wakes screaming about black eyes in the wall. Another mutters words he never learned. The sea is talking. Zhou Kor theorizes a form of psychic interference, perhaps a mutant signal drifting in on radio waves. She suggests isolating the communications array and switching to analog tools. Zhang Yi agrees, but is visibly disturbed. This isn't just noise. It's presence. The infection in Bai Jingyu begins to evolve. Her vitals stabilize, but she speaks less and less. One night, she looks Zhang Yi in the eye and asks, "Do you believe in absolution?" Her voice is not her own. Zhang Yi leaves without answering. Meanwhile, crew members report momentary blackouts, seeing flashes of things that aren't there, hallways lined with seaweed, dripping walls, hands scratching from inside mirrors. Zhang Yi calls an emergency meeting. No one is to be alone. Period. You eat in groups, sleep in groups, walk in pairs. Sun Wanqi pushes back. "This isn't normal," she pleads. "We can't treat them like prisoners." Zhang Yi stares at her. They're not prisoners. They're passengers on a ghost ship. No one argues further. Chapter 889, The Whalesong Calls. Out on the sea, another anomaly surfaces. This time, literally. During sonar scanning, Lao Tian hears it, a song. Low. Melodic. Too structured to be natural. It's not random, he says, replaying the frequency. It's trying to say something. Zhang Yi listens, eyes closed. The tone, deep, warbling, triggers something. He remembers a story from earlier logs, about a Columbia mutant named John Cadels, known as the Lord of the Sea. Could this be a command signal? Suddenly, the ship's lower hull shudders. A large shadow swims beneath them. They barely catch a glimpse, a gray-blue shape the length of a commercial jet, gliding beneath the keel. Then, it vanishes. Zhang Yi immediately orders the engines off. We drift, he commands. Let them think we're dead. That night, a crew member on watch screams and collapses. He had been writing something on a napkin, the same whalesong frequency and notated pitch. His ears are bleeding. He heard it too long, Joe Core whispers. It got inside. Zhang Yi looks at the notes and folds them into his coat pocket. Next time we hear it, he says, we answer. The sea remains calm, but below, something circles. Chapter 890, Fragment. With power limited, food low, and morale fractured, Zhang Yi implements a final protocol, sealing the inner ring of the ship. If this thing spreads, he explains to his core team, I'll be the last line. No one else needs to die. Bai Jingyu remains under surveillance. Zhou Core injects her with a sedative to slow any possible psychic flare. But just before slipping under, Bai murmurs, he's here. That same night, another blackout strikes. This time across half the ship. Emergency lights flicker. Screams echo from the stern. Zhang Yi and his strike unit sprint there. They find a door jammed. From the other side, rapid, uneven breathing. When they force it open, they find the cruise chef huddled in a corner, shaking violently. It came out of her mouth, he whispers. Black, like ink. Zhang Yi stares at the floor, trails of black liquid, dissipating like smoke, lead toward the ventilation shaft. Zhou Core confirms the infection has breached containment. Zhang Yi stands before his men. We burn it. Every vent, every wall. We hunt now. Behind his back, Bai Jingyu opens her eyes. And smiles. Chapter 891, Today is my birthday. The stillness of the early morning was shattered aboard the vessel with a bone-chilling revelation: someone had died mysteriously in one of the middle cabins. Tension tightened in the air as crew members pored over surveillance footage. What they witnessed shook even the most hardened among them. At precisely 1:23 a.m., under the eerie glow of infrared night vision, Bai Jingyu, clad in white pajamas, was seen returning from the restroom. As she made her way down the corridor, her steps slowed, and something unseen seemed to tug violently at her neck. Her mouth stretched wide, grotesquely distorting her face, while her body convulsed with unnatural spasms. For several seconds, her figure writhed like that of a puppet controlled by some macabre force. Her eyes, once warm and human, turned cold, glassy, devoid of life. She walked into a cabin, one that would later become the scene of a grisly discovery. Zhang Yi watched the footage in silence, beads of sweat forming on his brow. He was no stranger to monsters and the supernatural, but this defied logic. No physical assailant had been caught on camera. The change in Bai Jingyu resembled possession or spiritual hijacking. Quickly regaining composure, Zhang Yi assessed the situation. As a leader, he had to ensure the safety of the civilians aboard. Confronting Bai Jingyu directly could provoke disaster. So, he devised a plan: isolate the passengers, observe behaviors, and use surveillance to pinpoint abnormality. With Lao Tian's help, he instructed the crew to prepare a dining area and gather everyone under the pretense of a communal meal. For now, observation was the safest path. Chapter 892, She's Not Human Anymore. Tension aboard the vessel escalated. The gathering in the repurposed dining hall commenced. Dozens of survivors gathered for the celebration, unaware of the true reason for their summoning. Everyone was to be fed, monitored, and subtly tested. Zhang Yi and Lao Tian, along with the technical crew, activated enhanced monitoring equipment, closely analyzing micro-expressions, irregular behaviors, and energy signatures. It was tedious work, but necessary. When Bai Jingyu entered the room, she was calm, too calm. Her face bore a hollow serenity, a mask stretched over something dark lurking beneath. Throughout the meal, Bai Jingyu remained eerily silent. While others conversed and shared wary smiles, she chewed slowly, her gaze fixed on something or someone invisible. Zhang Yi took note of her subtle motions, fingers twitching out of rhythm, a barely perceptible hum under her breath, a moment where she mimicked someone else's gestures a few seconds too late. To test further, Zhang Yi deployed a faint pulse of his own mutant energy into the room. Most people ignored it or flinched unconsciously. Bai Jingyu, however, reacted not like a human but like a predator sensing a challenge. Her pupils contracted, and for a split second, her facade dropped, an expression of something ancient and hungry flashed across her face. Zhang Yi's suspicions were confirmed. Bai Jingyu wasn't herself anymore. Whatever force had taken hold of her wasn't simply a mutation, it was something parasitic, alien, and insidious. Chapter 893, A Hidden Predator. Night fell again, blanketing the sea in shadows. Within the lower decks of the ship, a sense of dread crept among the survivors. Rumors of ghosts and monsters spread like wildfire. Whispers about Bai Jingyu's vacant stare and cold demeanor began to circulate. Meanwhile, Zhang Yi convened a small tactical meeting with Lao Tian, Zhou Core, and a few trustworthy warriors. He laid out a hypothesis: Bai Jingyu had been overtaken by an unknown parasitic entity, likely a new breed of mutant evolved to escape detection. Such an organism might be psychic in nature, capable of transmitting itself through spiritual channels or through weakened emotional states. The goal now was containment. Zhang Yi decided to isolate Bai Jingyu subtly, assigning guards to her quarters while pretending it was for her own safety. At the same time, he ordered all access to her cabin to be sealed during night hours. But containment was not enough. Zhang Yi knew the danger she represented was not limited to herself. If this entity could infect others, then it was only a matter of time before an outbreak would claim the entire vessel. Late that night, Zhang Yi visited her under the guise of conversation. He found her seated in meditation, her eyes open and unfocused. Their exchange was chilling. She answered in riddles, twisted truths, and lines that didn't sound like her own. Zhang Yi left more convinced than ever Bai Jingyu had become a vessel. Chapter 894, Lord of the Ocean, Hunting. Elsewhere on the treacherous seas, a new threat stirred. John Cadels, known as the Lord of the Sea, commander of the Columbia Ocean Fleet, had taken to the waters. With cold efficiency, he scoured the fog-drenched waters on the back of a colossal sea beast, a top Delta-level mutant whale. His target, Zhang Yi. Cadel stood tall in his sea-blue battlesuit, radiating power and discipline. Behind him, dozens of warships trailed in formation, their sonar arrays searching for anomalies in the ice. While most of the Columbia fleet had been rerouted to engage the Huashu Kingdom's navy, Cadels had volunteered for this solo mission. For him, it wasn't just duty, it was a matter of pride. Zhang Yi's audacity, his unpredictable movements, had to be crushed. Cadel's ability, Lord of the Sea, allowed him to command marine mutants as if they were extensions of his will. He deployed scouts into the depths, ordering monstrous sea creatures to sniff out traces of Zhang Yi's spiritual energy, biosignature, or heat trail. Unbeknownst to him, Zhang Yi had already rerouted their path far from their original trajectory. But Cadels was patient. He would scour every wave, every island, every ripple until he cornered his prey. Chapter 895, The Ghost in the Hall. Back aboard Zhang Yi's ship, the situation was deteriorating. Another death occurred. This time, one of the guards stationed outside Bai Jingyu's room was found collapsed, his body drained of fluids, his face locked in a silent scream. No wounds. No signs of a struggle. Just a husk. Zhang Yi no longer had time for half measures. He devised a psychological trap. A decoy cabin was prepared identical to Bai Jingyu's. Surveillance teams monitored it round the clock. Then, using his own mutant powers, Zhang Yi released a trace energy lure designed to provoke the parasitic force into revealing itself. The hope was to lure the entity out of Bai Jingyu, or at least expose its behavior patterns. But that night, something else happened. Several crew members began sleepwalking. One of them, under observation, was seen drawing cryptic symbols on the walls, murmuring in tongues. Another burst into tears and then laughter, and finally fainted. It was clear now, the infection was spreading, not physically, but psychically, through fear, through dreams, through proximity. Zhang Yi realized the entity wasn't just parasitic. It was spiritual. A sentient, hive-minded consciousness that fed off despair and subconscious suggestion. And worse, it had already begun to root itself in the minds of others. Time was running out. Chapter 896, The Hollow Silence Before the Storm. After surviving the prior encounter, Zhang Yi and his group reach a lull in their journey aboard the Xiaoyao. But peace is deceptive. The cold sea around them grows eerily still, and though the ship is filled with survivors, a silent tension hangs over the vessel like frost on steel. Zhang Yi stands at the prow, wind whispering around his coat, eyes narrowed at the horizon. His inner monologue cuts sharply: the further north we go, the quieter the monsters get, and the more dangerous it feels. His instincts, sharpened through a year of bloodshed and betrayal, tell him something's off. Old Tian joins him and reports dwindling rations and increasing restlessness among the passengers. Meanwhile, below deck, several of the rescued civilians whisper tales of ghost ships and sea wraiths, rumors picked up during their escape. Zhou Qi, medical officer and trusted companion, notes a peculiar case: a passenger has fallen into a strange fever with black bruising across his chest. She isolates him quickly but struggles to understand the cause. "This isn't frostbite, it's something else," she murmurs, eyes flicking to Zhang Yi for confirmation. As night falls, a dense fog settles in, unnaturally thick. The sound of waves becomes muffled. Zhang Yi orders increased patrols, commanding 2-man teams. No one alone, not even for the bathroom. Unbeknownst to them, something has boarded the ship. Chapter 897, Bug, +1. At dawn, one of the patrol crew is found dead, mummified, eyes wide open in horror, with his entire torso collapsed inward like it was sucked empty. Zhang Yi inspects the body. His calm expression masks the boiling tension underneath. "There's no wound," Zhou Qi says, her voice trembling. "Organs, gone." The passengers panic. Rumors of sea demons surge again. Zhang Yi coldly addresses the crowd: "This is no curse. It's a creature." With his authority challenged, Zhang Yi pulls rank: "We are not a democracy. This is a warship in crisis." He orders the corpse removed and all civilians confined to quarters. Patrols are doubled. The deck is locked down. Zhang Yi later finds something tangled in the nets dragged behind the Xiaoyao, a grotesque sea creature with translucent skin and barbed feelers. "This got caught trying to crawl aboard," he says. He stabs it through the brainstem and throws it overboard, but he's not satisfied. "That was just the scout." A woman screams from the hold. Chapter 898, Infection. The fevered man Zhou Qi had quarantined earlier suddenly mutates, veins bulging, bones cracking under unseen pressure. He leaps at a crew member with animalistic speed, mouth stretched wider than humanly possible. Zhang Yi arrives moments later and vaporizes the mutant with a flash of psychic energy, his flame aura hissing around him. "We're dealing with a parasite," Zhou Qi confirms after dissection. "Possibly carried by sea monsters." Zhang Yi assembles the team. From this moment, any sign of illness is reported. "I don't care if it's a nosebleed. We're sealing off the lower deck." Lao Tian and Sun Wanqi argue: he wants to confine civilians, she wants to avoid panic. But Zhang Yi interrupts with characteristic finality: "This is not a negotiation." Still, cracks begin to show. Tensions among survivors rise. A young woman accuses a man of hiding a fever. He swears he's fine, but when dragged out, his arms are spotted with green bruising. Screams follow. At night, Zhang Yi dreams of the deep, a vision of the ocean floor lined with rotting cities, and a creature waiting.